Hello lovelies and welcome to my channel. Today I want to take you on a tarot adventure to one of the most amazing places I've ever been to in England. A place that's only about 1 hour away from me and yet I've never been. The city of Oxford. We spent 14 hours visiting the city of Oxford and it was magical. Now, I went with tarot and divination and cards in mind, especially having just been sent the deck for wonder walking. So this got open just a few days ago and I just was really excited because I was going somewhere and I knew I was going to be walking all day long to pull some cards before I went, just to keep in my mind. So the day started super early. This is a 4:30 a.m. card pull, just to make sure that I have a card to carry around in my mind with me as I walk around the city of Oxford. So this was very bleary-eyed and just really exciting. I just knew right from this very first walk that I was going to love this deck. Now, as I was shuffling, two cards came out. So these felt like dropped cards. So what I did, I just took a quick look at what they were and put them back. Firstly, the Flora card came out. So in my mind, I told myself that perhaps looking at flowers today might come into play. And then I continued to shuffle and another card felt like it fell out, but this didn't feel like the chosen one. This, the Sun card. Again, I took quick note of it, then popped this card back in the pack to carry on the overhand shuffle. So we'd got Flora and the Sun. England at the minute is in the middle of a heat wave. I'd already packed all the sun cream. I thought I was covered on this one, but it was a nice warning. But more of that to come later. So I carried on with the overhand shuffling now that I felt that the deck was ready. And again, two cards came out, jumped out in the shuffle together. So two cards it is. And what do we have? We had play and mood painting. Immediately my first hit from this is to what I go into this with a more playful attitude, having not gone anywhere for a long time due to trauma. I can often get quite anxious driving to new cities, so this was a call out immediately to me to go with an attitude of play, and I held on to that all day and it was so brilliant. But turning to the guidebook for the card play, we get other things that I can focus on my day in Oxford. So I think right from the get-go, emotionally, this card supported me to go with an attitude of play, not of stress and anxiety that I'm out the door going somewhere new, but just to trust that it's all going to be okay, to come with a slightly lighter spirit. And I think that's why I think this deck can also be used more like oracle-like, rather than always using it for wonder walking, because it did that immediately for me. But another thing that I love about this card is this phrase here in the guidebook. It says it's this deliberate surrender to the moment, the glee of going down hidden alleys, unmarked roads, abandoned estates. And I think for me the key there is hidden alleys, because although I've never been to Oxford, I know that its architecture is very historic, dating back hundreds and hundreds of years, and it is a city where there's lots of twists and turns and alleyways. So I was really looking forward to and hoping that that's what I would find when I got to Oxford, and to take it all with a spirit of play. So that was my initial hit from this card. The guidebook write-up for this card begins by saying skip, hop play, climb trees or step in puddles. Be light-hearted in your walk and art today. And it really struck me, those opening words, skip, hop, play. It made me think about, will I see different ways of moving today, to look for that. And it does say that you could try that yourself, experiment with different ways of walking, and it suggests that perhaps changing how your body moves will make a walk feel more like fun and play. So that was an interesting aspect of the write-up. It also talks about going mapless, not necessarily planning a walk, but just turning up somewhere and just seeing what happens, to follow your curiosity, to step into deliberate surrender to the moment, to go down those hidden alleys, the unmarked roads, to peep in at windows and to seek out intriguing openings and secrets. And I just hoped that Oxford would play out to be sort of a secret city of intrigue. For the card mood painting, we're encouraged to ask, what is the current mood or atmosphere of your surroundings? And I was hoping again that it would be secret and ancient and full of mystery. I had no idea really what to expect, but to be able to explore the atmosphere of the surrounding was going to be very much part of the day. I think when we go somewhere new, we are looking forward to exploring the mood of the place. Is it somewhere as well that we're going to want to revisit? It was all an unknown for me, so to look for the mood of the place, see if it was somewhere I wanted to go, to find ways of playing, of perhaps moving different, and also with 2 additional cards that dropped out of flora and plants, and possibly a warning card of the sun, or perhaps not so much a warning, who would know. So with the cards picked, we were ready. The first thing I saw that reminded me of the cards I'd pulled was on the drive to Oxford. I went round a roundabout and it had grasses all round the edge of the roundabout that were quite short, kind of this sort of height, with like white tops, and they were all dancing in the breeze all round the edge of the roundabout, and it was just so wonderful. It reminded me of showgirls dancing with all the feathers, and it kind of covered both aspects of this card and also play. It looked like grasses in a cabaret playing, and I loved that. So that immediately made me think of the cards I'd pulled again, but also those grasses dancing and looking strange. As I pulled onto the motorway to go to Oxford, it reminded me of a deck that had arrived just the day before. This is the Goblin Market Tarot, and I wondered, there was just something about seeing those grasses dancing and all the white tops. It reminded me of these cards with the white space around the edge and these kind of nature-based goblins that are all kind of strange and unusual in nature. And it made me think perhaps I should have brought this deck with me as well to Oxford. And for a moment I really regretted not having this tarot deck in my bag, although I've yet to use it at all. It only arrived the evening before. But there was just something that just, I thought, it's so playful and so unusual, and the grasses dancing reminded me of it, that perhaps this has got something to do with the cards that I've pulled and where I'm going. And don't you know, as I was thinking that, alongside me on the motorway, a great big lorry came alongside that was custom painted with goblins and elves. I could not believe my eyes, and as it went past, over the back of the lorry was just one giant sort of goblin or elf face that looked very similar to that, but a lot more joyful. And it just seemed to be a sign to look for goblins. And then on arrival at Oxford, having parked at the Park and Ride and getting a bus into the city centre, the bus dropped us off right by a church that had gargoyles all over it, and gargoyles became part of the day, and it just was so extraordinary, and all the gargoyles began to jump out at me on the architecture, and I loved it. My photos and videos of Oxford are slightly limited, only because I was with my daughter on a day trip and I wanted to be more present for her, not for photos and videos, but I just couldn't help but just be amazed at the fact that a lot of the architecture is carved with these gargoyle figures that just look like the faces and the heads in that Goblin Tarot. And it just made me smile on repeat as I walked past the buildings. Now, because I was focusing on my daughter for the day, again, I didn't take my sketching book, but immediately I was thinking, wow, I need to come back literally just to spend a day drawing these different faces. What an amazing day that would be. So that's a creative plan for a day out that I think has been sparked. And the city, as you can see here, is an endless source of inspiration. Literally every corner you turn, you end up with a site like this in front of you. Many of the buildings are carved, they've got statues built in and gargoyles. Even the main high street, the most commercial part of the town, is just so picturesque with its coloured buildings. Immediately the mood painting that I picked up on in the atmosphere was this idea of like multicolours, and it was not just these buildings but also in the flora. There's so many flowers, but set against this backdrop of this sort of beigey brown stone and this historical townscape or cityscape that is just so steeped in history. It was literally jaw-dropping on every turn, every corner turned, every doorway walked through. I cannot emphasize how this was everywhere. It didn't matter which direction you were looking in, but there was this sense of fun and colour as well. It wasn't just all austere. Also, another thing you'll immediately notice about Oxford when you go there is the way people travel around Oxford. And I smiled because this is immediately what the play card talks about finding different ways to travel. There are bikes everywhere in Oxford. You can bike under their Bridge of Sighs, which you see here. There, people run, people walk. The car feels like the very last form of transport that you ever think of in Oxford. Travel feels like the way we wanted to move as kids, to run places, to bike places. And then of course you've got the punting and canoeing on the River Cherwell in Oxford as well, the famous boat race moving on water. It made me want to think of planning like movement adventures to change the way I move for play, like the card says, to try and say walk fast or go for a boat trip somewhere. It was all there in front of me. But for me, beyond all of that, for me, the play card, when it speaks about the unknown, the hidden alleyway, to follow your curiosity, that was every moment in Oxford, way more than I could even begin to imagine. And coming back at the end of the day and looking at this card, it's all like this incredible play at the top, but then these little circles here. That for me is the tiny little circular cobblestones of Oxford, which certainly did affect the way I moved, but not so much in a play way. My feet at the end of 12 hours of walking around the city were really affected by those cobblestones. So it's all kind of there, including sunburn from my time in the park, having forgot to put on the sun cream that I bought put it all over my own daughter. I completely forgot to put it on me and ended up sunburnt. So play and the sun and changing the way you walk on mini cobblestones, the mood of multicolours but set against this sombre yellow, it's almost there in the card. And then all the flora as well. All 4 of these cards have come into play, but let me show you some of the secret alleyways and the buildings that we got to see, not just around Oxford, but it was their university open day, and we also got to see inside some of their buildings, including their dining halls and their incredible chapels. So I remained in awe all day of that idea of going down hidden alleys mentioned in the play card, because like I say, it was every moment. The play card talked about being mapless and just going with the flow, and we sure did that. The hidden alleyways and the hidden archways and going through doorways in Oxford will make you feel like lost and intrigued and glee filled, even if you knew exactly where you were, because you're lost in history. The stories about the times gone by held within this city and the secrets that it offers up is just incredible. We saw the colleges where Tolkien and C.S. Lewis went. We saw gardens where the trees that inspired the Ents in the Lord of the Rings were and still were. We walked into buildings that dated back to the early 1200s. It was just an invitation in all directions to get lost in the stories of childhood, in past times, in history, and to imagine what went on there before. It was just amazing. But it wasn't just architecture and alleyways and archways, it was also the green space in Oxford. It kind of kept surprising us over and over again, which links to that flora card. This is the Natural History Museum in Oxford, covered in flowers on the outside, but we were also surprised to find that in 1860 Henry Huxley and Samuel Wilberforce and others debated Charles Darwin's Origin of the Species in this very building. And when we walked in, I could feel that flora card singing to us, because it was full of flora samples and fauna and butterflies and insects and even dinosaur skeletons filling this space, which did very much feel like every child's dream bedroom of having dinosaurs around them. It felt like the play and the flora card holding hands here, which continued out into these amazing secret green spaces within Oxford colleges that we kept finding, including Henry Moore sculptures and secret witchy wildflower orchards. It seems like the day wanted to surprise us and fill us with glee and curiosity and intrigue at every turn. I do feel like play, and I do feel like mood paintings, and I do feel like flora, and I do feel like the warning of the sun card as I burned in this park all came into play. You can see that it was quite extraordinary, just the synchronicities of a cobblestone city with so many things to explore, and the fact that the play card talked about hidden alleyways and like just following your curiosity and taking the hidden turn and finding out what's around the next corner, and about different ways of moving. It was all there in front of us, with the mood painting, the atmosphere of the place being both ancient and like yellow brick, but also so vibrant and alive and colourful. Again, it's there as well. The sun card and sunburn, absolutely my fault. And then the flora card, I wasn't expecting to go into a natural history museum. I wasn't expecting to see white dancing grass round car islands as I drove, and I certainly wasn't expecting as many flowers and secret gardens as we saw, especially getting to see inside lots and lots of the university colleges, which were amazing. But I think the key one to go with this was seeing the actual trees on the lawn that had inspired Tolkien to sit and write about the Ents on that actual lawn. As a Lord of the Rings fan, to see the original Ents was everything. So I think as well, for the mood painting, that kind of the secrets, Oxford feels like a city of secrets. If you just stay curious and go around the next corner, there is another secret there. And if that energy and that atmosphere could be colours, it would kind of be like this sort of antique gold yellow of the brick, but also the antique gold in the chapels. All of the colleges have chapels, and they're vibrant in colour, but there is that ancient gold hue over it as well. And like the dining rooms, it was like being in Hogwarts in Harry Potter. And of course, two of the colleges in Oxford, which we didn't get to see, are actual filming sets for Harry Potter. So it's no wonder that the whole feeling of the place and the atmosphere does feel like a magical step back into something that should only belong in children's books, like the dinosaurs and Harry Potter rooms and secrets behind archways and parks full of sunshine. It is the stuff of children's fiction. So I just had to share with you, to end this video, some of the college's chapels. So these are college chapels. The choir that you hear singing were practicing on a lunch break, and you'll see the standard and the extraordinariness that is inherent in Oxford when I show you these clips of what we experienced that day. So thanks guys so much for watching, and I'm going to leave you with some incredible footage, and I'm going to leave you with a message to go play, to explore, to embrace the curiosity and the glee of feeling lost. So thanks guys for watching my first Wonder Walk. What fun it was, and I'll see you next time. But for now, here are the chapels, just a few of the chapels we saw in Oxford.